In a quiet village in southeast Nigeria, life was simple but beautiful. Mira, a hard-working cassava farmer, shared her life with her childhood sweetheart, Obi. Though they were poor, they were happy. Their days were filled with laughter, shared meals, and dreams of a future built on love and resilience. December brought the annual flurry of visitors to the village. Family members returning from faraway cities, traders from neighboring communities, and sometimes people thought long gone. This year, among the visitors was someone who left the whole village speechless. Nika. Years ago, Nick had vanished without a trace. Even her parents had heard nothing, and eventually the village mourned her as dead. Mira, a childhood friend, had deeply grieved, but Nika's memory had faded with time. Now, against all expectation, she, Nika, had returned, alive, radiant, and unrecognizable wealthy. Nika arrived in a gleaming car, the kind no one in the village, not even the king, had ever seen before. Her clothes shimmered in the sunlight, her skin glowed, and her smile dazzled. The villagers whispered and stared in amazement. How had this girl, once as poor as any of them, risen to such heights? Mira couldn't hide her curiosity one afternoon as they sat under the mango tree. She finally asked Nikad, what happened to you? You look so beautiful, so rich. Nikad chuckled softly, her laugh as smooth as honey. Mira, my dear, I got married. Married? Mira gasped. To whom? How? When? Nikad leaned closer. A white man, she whispered. Mira's jaw dropped. A white man? How? How did that happen? Well, Nikad began. Remember when I traveled to Lagos to help my aunts? That's when I met Tom. He was kind, wealthy, and completely smitten with me. He even bought me a phone so we can talk secretly. You know, my parents wouldn't approve because I was already supposed to marry Ubeku, remember? But Tom and I got married and moved abroad. My life has been a dream ever since. Look at me now, Mira. I am building my mother the biggest house this village has ever seen. Mira had swelled with a mix of envy and admiration. You're so lucky, Nikad. It's not luck, Nikad said, her voice firm. It's smartness. Mira, aren't you tired of this life? This village, this cassava farm, and that boyfriend of yours? What's his name again? Obi. Do you really think love will feed you? Mira frowned. Obi and I are happy. We love each other. Forget love, Nikad said dismissively. Love doesn't exist in the real world, my dear. Only money matters. Don't you want to drive a car like mine? To live in a mansion? To make your parents proud? Mira hesitated. Deep down, she did dream of a better life. She imagined her parents in a fine house, wearing fine clothes, and herself commanding respect everywhere she went. I would love that, she admitted. But what can I do? Nikad's eyes sparkled. Leave it to me. I'll buy you a phone and teach you how to meet a man like Tom. Your life will change, Mira. Trust me. True to her words, Nikad introduced Mira to the world of online dating, coaching her on how to attract wealthy foreign men. It wasn't long before Mira met Flynn, a charming white man who showered her with gifts and dollars. The villagers watched in amazement as Mira transformed. She began dressing like a city girl, her confidence radiating as she strolled through the village like a queen. Meanwhile, Obi grew increasingly distressed. One evening, he confronted her under the mango tree where they often meet. "Mira," he began, his voice trembling. "What is happening to us?" "What do you mean?" Mira said, avoiding his gaze. "You know what I mean," Obi said firmly. "You've changed. You're no longer the Mira I knew. You don't laugh with me anymore. You don't talk about our future, and you're always with Nikad. What is going on?" Mira hesitated, then said, "Obi, I want more. I want a better life." "We can build that together," Obi said, reaching for her hand. "It will take time, but with hard work, we can make it." Mira shook her head. "How long, Obi? How long will we keep struggling? Nikad has shown me that there's another way, a faster way. I want that." Obi had broke at her words. "Do you even love me anymore?" he asked softly. Mira looked away. "It's not about love, Obi. It's about survival." "I thought we were happy," Obi said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I thought our love was enough." Mira's eyes filled with tears, but she quickly wiped them away. "I'm sorry, Obi. I've already made my choice." Obi stood there, watching the woman he loved walk away from him, her footsteps echoing like the closing of a door. Not long after, Flynn flew to Nigeria to marry Mira. The wedding was the grandest event the village had ever seen, bigger than the king's coronation. Afterward, Mira and Flynn departed for his country. As the plane soared into the skies, Mira felt as though she was leaving her whole life behind forever. She was ecstatic. Finally, she would live like a white person, speak their language, and embrace a life of luxury. But as soon as they arrived at Flynn's home, the dream began to unravel. Flynn confiscated her passport and phone, claiming it was for her safety. At first, Mira accepted his explanation, but then he grew cold, speaking to her only when necessary. One day, he drove her to a massive mansion where strange women lounged about, smoking and drinking. Confused and frightened, Mira asked, "Where are we?" Ignoring her question, Flynn dragged Mira into a fat man's office. She was already trembling, unsure of what was happening. The fat man sat behind a massive big desk, a cigar clenched between his thick finger. The room smelled of smoke, sweat, and something metallic that made Mira's stomach turn. Flynn spoke in a language she didn't understand, his words quick and sharp. Mira tried to catch his eyes to understand what he was saying, but Flynn refused to look at her. Finally, Flynn bent down and signed a sack of paper the fat man pushed towards him. Then he straightened and turned to Mira. "Sign it," he said coldly, shoving a pen into her hand. "What is this?" Mira asked, her voice shaking. "Sign it," Flynn repeated. "It's just a formality." "I don't understand," Mira replied, pulling back. "Why do I need to sign?" The fat man chuckled, his belly shaking. "It's not complicated," he said in a heavy accented English. "You just agreed to work for me. Now sign the paper." Mira's heart pounded. "Work for you? What kind of work?" Flynn's eye darkened. "Stop asking stupid questions and sign." Mira hesitated, her hand trembling. Flynn seized her wrist and forced her to scrub her name on the paper. As soon as she signed, Flynn handed the paper back to the fat man, turned on his heel, and walked towards the door. "Wait!" Mira cried, running after him. "Where are you going?" "Flynn, wait!" The fat man's voice stopped her in her track. "Where do you think you're going?" he barked. Mira turned, panic rising in her chest. "I'm going with my husband." The fat man laughed. A deep, ugly sound. "Husband? He's not your husband anymore. You belong to me now." Mira froze. "What do you mean?" she whispered. "Let me call someone you know," the fat man said, smirking. He clapped his hands, and from behind the curtains stepped Nikad. Mira's mouth fell open. "Nikad! What is this? What are you doing here?" Nikad was dressed in tight, skimping clothes, her face heavily made up. She looked older and wearier than Mira had ever seen her. Her eyes were red as if she's been crying, and she couldn't meet Mira's gaze. "Nikad, talk to me," Mira demanded. "What is going on? Why am I here?" Nikad took a deep breath. "Mira," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "I am so sorry." "Sorry for what?" Mira asked, her voice raising in desperation. "What is this place? Why did Flynn lead me here?" Nikad finally looked at her. "This is where I've been, Mira. This is my life." "What do you mean?" Mira asked, dread settling in her stomach. "I was tricked, just like you," Nikad said, her voice breaking. "I thought I was going to live a better life abroad, but instead I was sold into Dennis." "Sold into what?" Mira asked, though deep down she already knew. Nikad swallowed hard. "This is a brothel, Mira. You have to work here as a prostitute." Mira's knees buckled. She collapsed into a chair. "No," she whispered. "No, that's not possible. Flynn is my husband. He loves me." Nikad shook her head. "He doesn't love you, Mira. He sold you just like Tom sold me. That's how this works." Mira's head spun. "Why? Why would you do this to me, Nikad? You're my friend." Tears streamed down Nikad's face. "I didn't want to, Mira, but I didn't have a choice. The only way I could get out of this place was to bring someone else to take my place. It was either you or me." Mira stared at her in disbelief. "You betrayed me. You destroyed my life. How could you?" "I am sorry," Nikad sobbed. "I have no other options." The fat man interrupted their conversation with a loud clap of his hand. "Enough talking," he said. "Mira, you belong to me now. Work until you've paid back every cent Flynn spent on you." "What are you talking about?" Mira asked, her voice hoarse. The fat man smirked. "Your husband spent a lot of money to bring you here. The plane ticket, the clothes, the food, everything costs money. You owe me $50,000, and until you pay it off, you are not going anywhere." For years, Mira was trapped in the brothel, forced to see clients day and night. She tried to resist at first, but the fat man enforcers beat her until she complied. Every time she thought about escaping, she remembered the other girls who had tried and failed. Some were beaten to death as examples. But Mira never gave up hope. She listened carefully to the guards within, memorized the layout of the building, and waited for the right moments. One night, after nearly 10 years of captivity, she saw her chance. A new guard had fallen asleep at his post, leaving the back door unlocked. Mira slipped out into the cold night, her heart pounding with fear. She ran for hours, not knowing where she was going, until she found a group of African women in a church. They listened to her story and helped her contact the Nigeria embassy, which arranged for her to return to her village. When Mira returned home, she was a shadow of her former self. Her once bright eyes were dull, her body thin. The villagers barely recognized her, but the most painful moment came when she saw Obi. Obi was now the biggest cassava farmer in the region. He lived in a beautiful mansion with his wife and 5 children. He drove a sleek car, and the villagers respected him deeply. Mira found him at the farm one evening, supervising workers. She hesitated before calling his name. Obi. Obi turned, startled. Mira. Yes, it's me, she said, her voice trembling. Obi's expression hardened. What do you want? I just wanted to say I'm sorry, Mira said, tears streaming down her face. For everything. I made a mistake. Obi studied her for a long moment before replying. Sorry doesn't change anything, Mira. You choose your path and I choose mine. I know, Mira said, her voice breaking. I just wish I could go back and undo it all. Obi sighed. We can't change the past, he said. I hope you find peace, Mira, but I've moved on. You are 10 years too late. As Obi walked away, Mira sank to the ground, consumed by regret. She had traded her happiness for a dream that turned into a nightmare. Now she has nothing but memories of what could have been. If only she had been content.